Well, good morning, everyone. It's Henry again. It's 2025. In my last video at the end of 24, when I paddled on West Bay, I talked about making the move to using a kayak paddle instead of the standard tried and true wooden paddle. And so I bought a 2.5 meter kayak paddle, and it sat for the whole winter, and I was keen to try it and see just how this would work. So I've had a couple of small outings, one on the Sturgeon River in high current and one at Grundy Lake in better conditions. What I found with the 2.5 meter paddle, and what is I see from a fair number of people who may post videos online, is that when you stroke with that, the other side of the paddle has to go fair ways in the air, maybe making almost a 60-degree angle. And to do that also requires a fair amount of twisting motion. For the position I have in my canoe, I don't kneel, I sit, and I'm fairly tall. So what I found, what my intention was to have something that I could paddle without having to twist, that the paddle might be only maybe 30 degrees or so, and that the other paddle would not come into the canoe at all. So backing it up a little bit, I wanted a paddle so that I could put my electronics and cameras and stuff closer to me. Because with the big 11-inch paddle, I have to switch a fair bit because it's almost impossible to J-stroke with it. But I love the power I can get out of that thing. And so as a consequence, my cameras get wet, I get wet, and that's certainly not the intention of this. I want to keep the canoe dry, but get from A to B. And then I can have my cameras close by so I can control them, redo the settings, verify that they're working properly. I have limited budget to do this channel, so I'm not out buying an $800 GoPro that I can talk to or something. That may come someday, but before that happens, the channel has to support itself. So, nevertheless, so then I decided, well, gee, maybe if I can lengthen this paddle somewhat, maybe I can get some traction that way. So I thought about it, and ultimately what I did is I bought a paddle from the same, that was compatible, but wasn't quite as expensive, and I cut a chunk out of the shaft and was able to make a piece that's about 60, almost 70 centimeters long with some overlap, of course. I think the paddle comes out around 3.1, maybe 3.2 meters in total, as a guess. And so now, here I go today to give this a test here in the northwest bay of Lake Nipissing, near the original paddle, 2.5 meters long. That wasn't acceptable to what I wanted to do. And then I moved to this is the larger one with the piece in between, about 55 centimeters net, and you can see the difference in the length. And here we're going to test it today and see what happens. So that's where we're headed, and hopefully things work out really well. Obviously we can't make the paddle too long. It gets too heavy, it gets unwieldy, it'll get too flexible. But I think that if this works, and that's a big if just now, that's the compromise I'm looking for. I also want to examine camera angles and stuff and see just which way I can mount my cameras to reduce the chances of anything happening, and the types of angles that they will show. So there's some experimentation with respect to that as well. I'm also curious for when I'm in the canoe talking to the camera, how that will work with the camera closer, what type of field of view will I get, and all that kind of thing. So there's some questions to be answered, and hopefully today with calm conditions it will be able to sort some of that out, and be looking forward to it. Okay, campers, so we're testing out the kayak paddle here today. First time with the long shaft. The short shaft I was doing this, and the water was coming all over me and my gear, which we can't have. So that was a non-starter. So this piece from my thumbs is a section I put in by cutting another paddle and making it click, and it seems to be working really well. It's still, of course, a matter of me getting used to this motion and just where my cameras can be, so the paddles don't hit it and stuff, and they can still be close enough for me to use them. And so far I'm pretty pleased. The speed is comparable, and I don't know what I'm doing at all yet with the two-stroke thing. I feel my intention is to put in the same force that I would think I would be putting in with the wooden paddle, because comparatively my body's used to that, my arms, and given that, you know, you want to go for 5 or 6 hours. So this is the way I'm setting up my little station today. I've got that used to be up there. Now it's here, but it's moved forward so I don't strike it, but it seems to be working. Then over here, I have the same console I had before, the GPS mount, but now I'm putting my cell phone with the angle inward, and I've come nowhere near it with the paddle, so I'm really pleased how that's working, and that's certainly something you would never dare do if you had the wooden paddle. You'd be cleaning it off for sure. So, and the nice part with this is if I'm shooting myself in the canoe, I can see what I'm shooting, so I don't have to guess with angles and stuff. So that's pretty nice. So now there is a second station which can go on this side for my DSLR, and I'm not completely convinced whether that's something I want to take on a canoe trip because of the weight and the fact that the camera I'm holding has just as good a zoom lens practically. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, everyone, so now I'm about 4.5 kilometers into this. I've gone to the west end of this bay here, the West Bay, I guess it is, near Levine, Ontario. And I had about a 10K wind helping me out. And so now I've turned the corner, and now we're paddling back along the shore here. And so that same wind, it's not really any different, I don't think, than it was before. Now, to give an idea of the speed, when I was going with the wind, I was doing 5.8 with the paddle and 6.2 or so with the kayak paddle. Now I'm into the wind, and I'm averaging 4.3 or 4.4, or a little bit less depending on how hard I try. And you know, we're getting there. It's okay. I'll be back at the dock in an hour or a little less, which is more than adequate. So the performance of the paddle, from the standpoint of making it longer to keep the water out of the canoe and all of that, it's been great. It's exactly the right thing for me. Now, with the arms, so I've paddled the best part of 4,000 kilometers. Now, I'm no expert, but I've done my share. And so what I find with this is it's up on here is where I'm feeling the, not strain, but innervation, I guess, because I'm not used to those muscles. So when you paddle, you're doing this, and it's a little bit different muscles. Obviously, you're still gripping. Obviously, you're still pulling through. So there's certainly some muscles that are conditioned for this. Now, it could well be just supporting the kayak paddle like this all day, but I suppose we're doing that to some extent with the canoe paddle too. I don't know. However, it's not agony, and my guess is it's conditioning. So as I do more of this, it will come back. There are a few dribbles of water in the canoe, probably more when I beached the paddle than because of splashes when I was using the paddle. There's no comparison whatsoever to the amount of water that comes in the canoe from the constant switching with the big paddle. I do love the paddling with the big paddle. I really do. And I like the amount of force I can put on an 11-inch wide paddle. I won't miss that. But I love having this control center here for navigation, for photography, for general information. Being able to use the cell phone now in this way and allowing myself to know exactly what I'm imaging and the direct angles of it and all the rest is very appealing to me. And I can also turn it if I wanted to shoot. Oh, actually, I don't even have to do that, to shoot stuff on the water. So let's just do that right here. So there's the view on the other side of the camera. Now it's tilted down just a little bit because of the angle to have a look at me in the boat, but still, if it was something quick, you could do it. So for me, I think I can portage this. Shouldn't be any problem strapping these three pieces with the kayak paddle and the wooden paddle as a backup. Shouldn't be any problem carrying that somehow. So really, you just got a Jim Dandy little setup here. There's a man-eating dog over there who didn't like me when I passed close by, and now I'm half a K away and he still hates me. Anyhow, that's my update for now. I'm also going to make a shore video when I get back with the camera on the tripod, and I'll paddle a little bit from in front of it so that we can see the action. But this seems to be an answer for me. And like I said, when I saw myself, problems I had, I saw people online, YouTube videos, doing the same thing and having the paddles on a very high angle, and then the water drips off the blade right on your legs and your clothing or your equipment, if you have cameras and stuff. Just didn't seem to me to be the right answer. So I'm gonna measure this thing and I'll add that to the video, but I'm thinking 3.1 and 3.2 meters versus the 2.5 that I had when I first started doing this, when I first bought the paddle, before I bought the second paddle, which I cut up to put a piece in between. So price wise, this is all Canadian Tire. I don't have the resources to go out and spend 400 bucks on a carbon fiber paddle, but so the bigger part of this thing, the 2.5 that I originally bought, was 90 bucks Canadian, and then the second paddle was, I think it was 60 or 65 Canadian. All this before sales tax, and then so this piece from here to here is that effective $70 piece. But performance wise, I think it's been worth it. I really do. So it's 150 bucks Canadian, so that's a little over 100 American for something that, you know, would cost 2 or 3 times as much any other way, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I'm noticing with my left hand wearing the Canoe glove, I'm getting a little bit of distress in the angle here, but I was also raking the other day, and it could be that I've damaged it that way because the other hand's fine. But I can put my thumb on top of the kayak arm without problem. It doesn't pull out of my hand, so I think I'm okay. Anyhow, aside from that, there's just a beautiful early spring day here on the West Bay of Lake Nipissing.
Hello, thank you for watching this video. I enjoy making and sharing these videos. It would be very helpful to me if you would subscribe and like this video. It is completely free and would help me grow my channel. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're coming back from that test of the kayak paddle in the Canoe. So I'd like to just sum it up now. So I measured the extension, and it looks to me like the net difference in the length of the paddle is about 55 millimeters. That makes the new paddle about 305, so 3 meters. So I think I've heard before that 3 meters is kind of the right number for a canoeist. And so from what I'm saying here, I sit in the canoe, I don't kneel. My canoe is 36 inches wide. I'm 6'2" roughly, so that's kind of the geometry of what I'm doing, and I find I wouldn't want it any shorter, but at the same time any longer and it starts becoming a real, you know, really unwieldy too. So it's, you know, 6 one after the other. So the things I was concerned about and why I was going to consider this switch was first to keep the water out of the canoe, and that works. The canoe was effectively dry. Any of the water that did get in the canoe was more or less when I brought the paddle inboard to rest, although I found a way not to do that, and when I briefly used the wooden paddle. So that was a perfect success. Being able to use my cameras and what have you closer to me, make it easier for me to work with them than having them way at the front. I'd have to reach way out in an inconvenient way to get to them. Worked perfectly. There was almost never a situation where I felt that I was, after positioning them initially, of course, that I was going to hit them with the paddle. I didn't have any anxiety with that at all, and I thought it worked really well. So I paddled, I could say, about 4,000 kilometers, not quite, but just about. And I don't really get too tired paddling, maybe after 30K. You know, I've had a good day, I notice it. With this one, and again, being my first time, I went just under 8K and my shoulders were done. They were exhausted. Now, personally, I think that's just conditioning. I don't think it's, you know. So I'm hoping as I use it more, I can, that will go away and I'll be able to add distance without, you know, any significant discomfort. When I was coming back on that lake of roughly 4 kilometers or 3.5 into the wind, which was about 15 kilometers an hour, so it was just enough it was a great test situation, I guess you could say. And I found I would get a stroke that I felt was quite comfortable, and with the effort and so forth, and performance-wise, but after 5 or so, maybe 10 minutes, I'd have to slow down because it was my arms were aching. Now they're aching not in a pain way, but more in a spent manner, how you feel when there's nothing left. So I'm hoping that's something I can build up. Speed-wise, when I started out, and I should point out before also, I've never paddled a kayak before, so my technique is not going to be anywhere near optimum. I'm not going to have that feel that I have, say, with a single stroke. So that's another side to this as well. I start off at going 6'1" to 6'4" with the wind, and I held that pretty well for most of the trip on the way with the wind. Coming back, there was a lot of 4 kilometer an hour stuff, and then I changed my technique slightly and I got it up to generally 5. And I feel I probably could have held that had I not just been out of condition on those muscles. So to me, I think the speed that I'm traveling in this situation is probably very close to what I would, or maybe even a little bit more than what I would get with the big wooden paddle. However, I feel that because I don't know what I'm doing yet when it comes to the double blade, and my muscles are also not conditioned, I'd like to think that, you know, we might be able to gain a little bit as I get more efficient and more used to it. So that remains to be seen. But now portaging, I have to figure out, because I think the 1/2 meter one is too short probably to fit between the way I strap it on right now. So whether I can Velcro that or carry it in my pack or something, I'm not sure. We sure don't want to lose it. So that's something to still have to consider. And again, the weight. So there's a lot of people saying they would rather use a carbon fiber because, you know, it's so much lighter than the aluminum. And okay, maybe it is. I don't know what a carbon fiber paddle costs, but it's a lot of money. And if I ever did do that, it would be certainly for something that's 3 meters long. I wouldn't even 2.8 wouldn't be enough. So it would have to be a matter of finding, and that's if I do it. Right now I have no interest in that. This is going to be fine for now, and I'll always have the wooden paddle with me. If I need a break, I can reconfigure my cameras for a little while and I can paddle with the wooden paddle. And I know
short of other kinds of trouble, I know I'm going to get there. So anyhow, so that's sort of the long and the short of it for today, and I'm pretty happy, given how frustrated I was when it was 2.5. The fact that I added this section, and it all fits together really well. The paddle's not sloppy. I'm very pleased how it all worked out.